special guest in Castle Rock, Colorado tonight. Duane Chapman is with us, more commonly known, of course, as Dog the Bounty Hunter. Dog formed a crime-fighting group of retired law enforcement and military personnel, calling them the Essentials. The group has already closed a number of cases. Dog, great to see you tonight.
Good to see you too, sir. Thank you very much.
I'm intrigued first. The Essentials, what is this group all about? Are they superheroes? Who are these men and women?
Oh, let me tell you something, brother. So, you know, the FBI, CIA, all the federal law enforcement retire you at 51, 53 years old. And of course, biblically speaking, that's when we get wisdom and knowledge. No offense, kids. But so those guys cannot fish their life away. So during the Laundrie hunt, we met some of them that volunteered. And I was like, oh boy, I looked up the word essential in the dictionary. It said something you must have. And these guys and girls have 10, 15 years left in them, and they've already been completely trained. So in homicides, we've got a CIA. I mean, we got some real unbelievable guys. And they have, you know, I wasn't there the last 3 bodies they found. So, and this is in a couple months. So, you know, we're going after the worst of the worst. The politics are changing a little bit where crime is crime, and you know, they finally realizing people are right now that the criminal, if you don't punish him, he's going to keep doing it. So we're out there doing private eye, bounty hunting, finding girls that have been kidnapped, of course, bodies, finding the killers. My wife has set up a home called the Dog Houses for the girls that have been in sex traffic. We're just absolutely rocking and rolling because the police are out of funds. They can't do anything.
And what's it like working with law enforcement? Are they inviting the help? Sometimes they don't like folks from the outside coming in on their investigations.
Well, you know, I've done this 40 plus years, so the first 20 was real hard. Which one's the criminal? They both are. So nowadays, you know, I've proven my worth, and I have 99% of the time, I have respect with the police officers. And we know our position on the totem pole. It's not on the top. And with other cops that I'm working with, the other cops, it's like that thin blue line lasts forever. So we're getting a lot of good responses from a lot of different sheriff's departments and police departments across the country.
Now, it so happens that a couple of the big stories that we've been covering, or a few of the big stories we've been covering, you seem to be, your name is always floating through all these things, and I'm interested in your take on a couple of them. I want to start with a story that we were covering out of Moab, Utah. These newlyweds, Kylen, Schulte, and Crystal Turner, married. They were sort of living this van life in the wilderness, kind of camping out. Brutal murder, shot and killed, and then I know you got involved in the investigation, and it seems that things have resolved themselves, but I want to get your take on what you think happened out there, and has this case been solved?
Well, we have a large following. So as soon as there was a lot of coincidental things that happened. I lost a daughter that died in a car accident at the same age. All my fans started saying, you know, Dog, you need this. And the father on a holiday put on his website, I pray to God right now that God would ask Dog to come help me. And right there, you know, what do you do? And so we went down there. The bigger the case is, the more information we get, because more people want to help. So we went down there and started investigating. Well, the sheriff has come up with the top suspect. Of course, we believe it might be the same guy, but we also believe there's a lot of other things. These girls worked at a McDonald's where it seems like in the last year, 4 people have been murdered that worked there. And consequently, they're all gay. So what is really going on there? And of course, Brian Laundrie went down there and is seen with Gabby meeting the 2 girls. So that kind of tied the media together on it. And then of course, Sean Paul, the father of the girls, when he put that on his Facebook and requested that, you know, what could we do? Just let him, you know, so that's what we do. That's what I've done over 10,000 fugitives arrests in 40 years. That record will never be broken. This is what we do for a living. We hunt down the bad guy, and we can now solve crimes.
Let me ask you, Doug, you ever bump into any of these guys that you've tracked down after they've done their time and they get out?
Oh, all the time. I've got recordings we just did the other day. And, you know, we go to Comic Cons a lot, Francie and I, and a lot of people, 3 or 4 people, we were in Albuquerque, walked up and said, "Dog, you arrested me 8 years ago." And every single one said, "Listen, you gave me a cigarette, you treated me right. I remember what you said. I looked at your life. You know, thank you, dog." I had a threat the other day from my Samoan brother in Hawaii, and he told me when he saw me next, he was going to beat my okole. And I go, "Why?" He said, "Brother, dog, you ruined my life of crime." And so before he hung up, he said, "Brother, I love you, brother. And I love you too, Bosco." So, you know, I've never had, God help the guy that ever comes after me, because his heart better be right with God.
You mentioned Brian Laundrie, and I want to put up on the screen for everyone at home Brian Laundrie's alleged notebook confession about what he did. I want to read it, and then I want your reaction to it. Let me read it. Rushing back to our car, trying to cross the streams of Spread Creek before it got too dark to see, too cold, I hear a splash and a scream. I could barely see. I couldn't find her for a moment, shouted her name. I found her breathing heavily, gasping. When I pulled Gabby out of the water, she couldn't tell me what hurt. She had a small bump on her forehead that eventually got larger. Her feet hurt. She was freezing, shaking violently. While carrying her, she was continually making sounds of pain. I didn't know the extent of Gabby's injuries, only that she was in pain. I ended her life. I thought it was merciful that it was what she wanted. Your thoughts about this note that was found where Brian Laundrie apparently took his life?
Well, the first time I read that, and I had to read it twice, and I've heard final arguments from lawyers representing killers in court, and it's almost exactly that. He had to do it. He didn't mean to. He didn't know what to do. So I assume that was, I'm not going to say what lawyer because I don't want to get sued, but I think a lawyer helped him write that, if he is dead. So, you know, there's a lot of hinky stuff. The government spent almost $3 million down there looking for him in the crocodile pits. So that's about all they got for each case right now. Remember, defund the police. So that case had to go away in a financial federal way. But I don't think it's gone away. There's so many. We filmed the whole thing because we got to film. You know, you got to show proof. No, I didn't hit you in the mouth first. You hit me. You got to have a camera. I have to have a camera. So everywhere we went during the hunt of Brian Laundrie, which is coming out soon, we filmed what we found. And what we found is not what they said they found. They took a different road than we did. We followed the Brian Laundrie trail.
So are you questioning what they say happened to Brian Laundrie, that he took his life, that he was found in the swamp, that the gun was there, the weapon and everything else?
Well, it all has to lead up to the father walking down there one day and then looking around to the left, and all of a sudden walking another 20 yards and looking around the left. Oh, look what I found. Come on. Then I guess the dentist has some kind of family relation. Then Brian Laundrie was right-handed. I checked on homicides, suicides, almost everyone. You shoot yourself with the hand that you are, the right hand, if you're right-handed. He was shot with the left hand in the back. That is a grave site of old ancient Indians in that whole area, and bones float up all the time. Now, hogs will eat everything. The only animal that'll eat the bones and all that are the wild pigs. But my Essentials just found another guy the other day the hogs ate. But guess what they won't eat is the clothing. No clothing at all down there. I'm not It's a 50-50, okay? I know that his name is off the computer. I'm wondering if he gets pulled over anywhere and they say his name, will it even come up wanted for murder? I think, it could be, we had a lot of leads. He was out of the country. He had plenty of time to run. The parents knew that he killed Gabby right after he did it. I think it was all strategically planned. His sister said she didn't see him at all. My team, we found that she entered the park with him. We got a picture of him in her car. And then she goes, oh, I was lying. Yeah, you're smiling with babies on your lap, Laundrie. You're having fun. I got photos of that, the smile you got. And you're telling your family you're going to commit suicide. As a family, what would we do if one of our kids or our relatives or a friend did that? We'd say, no, you're not. You're not going to commit suicide. Let's plead insanity. Let's do something. Do not kill yourself. Right out of the gate, they all, oh, he's dead, suicide. Yeah, come on. Something's up there.
So you don't think there was enough skepticism placed in the investigation, and that's where you and the Essentials have picked this all up?
Yes, because like I said, now you got to realize the cops, the federal government or police departments have so much money in their pot to spend on each crime, okay? They didn't have $3 million to spend on Brian Laundrie, but they did, and it's more than that. So when they're out of money, they're out of funds, they got to pay their agents, they got to go on to the next Brian Laundrie. They can't waste time anymore. The case can stay open for 50 years, but they're not going to spend any money on it. That's where we come in. That's where we come in, because we do this service tax-free.
There you go. Duane, the dog Chapman, staying with us. We're going to talk about some other cases that are happening now, including the yoga instructor who was a fugitive. We'll talk about that one. Also have this video out of Vegas I need to show you.